How you doing today? Padrock Caliber Home Loans. This is a quick tip. And what I'm going to talk about today, I'm going to talk about your credit score. Credit score. All right. In particular, I'm going to talk about credit card balances, how they impact your credit score, and maybe a few quick suggestions on how you can manipulate that slightly depending upon what you might need that for. All right, so quick thing is this. Credit card balances. Generally speaking, the credit reporting agencies start really hitting your credit score if you owe 30% or more of what your total revolving credit is. So in other words, for instance, you have two credit cards with $5,000 credit limits, and that's $10,000 in total available credit between those credit cards. And if you owe anything more than 30%, so $3,000 for this example, between those two credit cards, it's going to start impacting your credit score. Now, obviously, right at 30%, the impact is not great. However, the more you go, the greater it gets, especially if you're maxing it out near 70, 80, 90% of your credit limit, really can affect your credit score. I have a great story, personal story for you here right as we end on that, and I'll help you try and figure out how to bypass any issues on that eventually. So keep in mind, 30% of whatever that credit limit is, of those credit card balances, generally starts impacting your credit score. Now, here's how greatly it can do it. So what happens is the credit reporting agencies, most of them do what they call a batch reporting. It means they send in all of their customers to be updated for the balance of whatever that day they choose to send it in. They batch report it to the credit reporting agencies, and as of that day, that's what balance you'll have for the entire month when it reports in your credit report. So you're kind of stuck with it for the most part. There's ways around that we'll talk on some other time. But just assume that you're stuck with that balance for simplicity's sake. So with that said, keep in mind, like in this instance, you have a credit card balance on the 2nd of $3,000. You pay it off on the 4th, but they report on the 3rd of your balance. Your balance shows that $3,000 on the 3rd, even though on the 4th it goes to 0 because you paid it off. So that can impact your score. All right. So with that said, let me tell you a story about what happened to me, and that's why I brought this up. All right. So I have two kids in college. I paid one of their college tuitions on one of my credit cards just because it's an online pay and it's way easier, especially paying a larger payment compared to using my bank card. So I did that, and next thing I know, I paid it off about 10 days later, and I got a note that my credit score had dropped 80 points. 80 points. Didn't miss any payments. It was simply because of the fact that my credit card was like at 90% of its limit or more because I just paid that big payment on it. I paid it off within like a little over a week, but for that whole month, my credit score dropped 80 points. Now, for me, not a big deal. Wasn't doing anything that was credit related, so I didn't have that problem. However, on a business level, I've seen this happen to a lot of people who are buying houses, buying cars, getting credit cards, opening up accounts, insurance quotes, a lot of things that your credit score affects. So it's very important to know how to manipulate this in a certain sense of the word. And what I'm saying is that you might have credit card balances and maybe you can't pay them off. And that's fine. If that's the case, it's the case. You just deal with it and you move on. However, if for some reason you have that option and that's what you do or how you work it, or you need to get a higher score for any reason, just know that my recommendation is that at some point about that 3rd or 4th, probably the 3rd to 4th week of the month, pay that thing off or down as much as you can, let it ride until after about the 7th or 10th day of the next month, and then chances are good, I can't guarantee anything because that's always moving and changing and it's very dynamic, but chances are good most of your creditors will have already done their batch reporting and your balance will show lower, which then calculates your score for the month, and there you have it. So in other words, to kind of wrap that up, think about it. If that's what you want, you have something going on, you're going to buy a car, you want to apply for a credit card, like I said, you're getting a quote for car or homeowner's insurance or whatever, those are all impacted by credit score. So just understand that keep those balances as low as you can. Try and do it under the 30% mark, but even if you can't, get them as low as you can, especially before the end of the month and the beginning of the next month where they start doing the batch reporting, and then that's kind of locked in for the month. All right, so that's your quick tip for today. Enjoy. If you need any help, questions, comments, concerns, please feel free to reach out to me. Enjoy.